Hello there, Jakey Noob here, currently getting pwned by Light Boys, the finals. A free-to-play game show first-person shooter where the main objective is to bank the highest amount of cash to win. This can be in a variety of different flavours, ranging from Quick Cash, a simplified version of the game where you play a more defence and hold ground approach, like Capture the Flag, but except it's 3v3v3, and the flag is a box that goes... Anyway, you bank the box twice in Quick Cash and you win. Sounds simple enough, but once we get into the meat of the game, you realise what my intro clip was referring to. Moving on to the other game modes, we have Bank It, similar to Quick Cash, except it's double the value to reach, and you earn the coins via vaults or by eliminating other players. So, as you can imagine, it can be a bit crazy. Then we have the other version of the game, Tournament Mode. This is essentially the multi-stage version of the game, except instead of having unlimited respawns, you only have a few respawn credits to use, and every time the whole team wipes, a percentage of the taken banked balance that you've got is removed. It's about 30%, I believe. So it really pushes on the idea of teamwork and obviously making things work appropriately. Of course, when you're solo queuing into this game, good luck getting the Cloakers on your side to help you, because, my god, they just do their own thing. The unique twist with this game is that every part of the main buildings are destructible, meaning you want to go through a wall, charge in with your heavy ass and break down walls, or use a sledgehammer, explosives, cranes, barrels of gas that explode, or just stand back from afar and watch the chaos unfold because everyone else is doing it. Because you've probably been wiped for like the 6th time. Anyway. The other twist is that this is a game that's more to do with objective. So it's not about the highest amount of kills to win. You could literally drop like 40 eliminations and still lose, because it is very strongly, as it should be, objective based. Which means, filthy casuals like me can generally feel great about doing something in the game rather than being told by a 13-year-old kid you suck. I want to draw your attention to Embark Studios. If you haven't guessed from the destruction, yep, they are made up from a few ex-Battlefield devs that used to be part of DICE, and they've pretty much taken the selling point of Battlefield games and turned it into a modern-day era version and basically cranked everything to 11. So the visuals are just gorgeous. Granted on my hardware it looks pretty meh, but if you look out there, you look at like much better rigs that are running it, RTX cards, ray tracing, all that jazz. It's just gorgeous. It pops every single time. But with that in mind, obviously it can run on sort of like mid-spec PCs like mine is, so I can pretty much find a sweet spot and it's good. But obviously with that in mind, as you can imagine, with the building destruction, you're going to really need a strong processor. So just bear that in mind, because obviously everything's trying to be calculated at once, so you'll end up with a bunch of stutters here and there if you've not got a strong enough PC. But through optimization, updates and tweaks, everything should hopefully get leveled out where everybody's on the same playing field. I also want to mention as well that this is not really the first time this game show style of shooters come out, because do you remember Radical Heights? From Boss Key Productions with Cliff from Gears, also made Lawbreakers. Yeah, that was a mess. I mean, I played that game for a while, but in comparison to the finals, I should probably mention as well, this isn't just a PC exclusive game. You can run it on current gen consoles, so the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X at the time of this recording, and S as well. And, you know, this isn't sponsored at all, by the way, sadly. But, you know, the game certainly won't shut up about their own sponsors.
Proudly presents the soaring skyscraper.
One driving the whole arena is surprisingly like a made-up company within the universe called Volpe. Each unique arena that's in there is obviously sponsored by a variety of different sponsors that they've got in the game. So you've got like a location like Skyway Stadium, you got Las Vegas, you got Monaco, and you got Seoul. And of course, it's set in a distant future. Apparently, it is the year 2100. And obviously, virtual reality has gotten to the point where it's hyper reality, which is insane. So with that in mind, obviously, the point is where contestants compete to earn a high stake of prize income. So they would obviously compete to get monstrous amounts of dollars just to, you know, get through their lives, I would assume. But from what I can tell early on, it seems like it's set obviously in a dystopian future where corporations are running a show. But of course, this is speculation at this time, and there's no concrete lore or anything that I've seen. But there probably is like a bunch of lore videos out there. You're more than welcome to take the plunge, because there are some strange things out there. Here's the interesting thing though, with the battle pass and all the unlocks and other things like that, each unique personality that you've got, like the styles, they technically count as separate contestants. For example, in the battle pass, there's a ballerina that happens to have a set of wings and just generally like it's a full black attire, kind of similar to Swan Lake in a way. That is a named character. I do forget the name, but I will put it here once I find post recording. Additionally, as well, you can dress up your characters how you wish, and it's essentially just down to you how you want to express your style, which I think is great because each item is, not tied to a class, it's universal. So you've got different classes, which we're going to get into now. So we've got obviously our light boys, we've got our medium supports, and of course the big chungus Giga Chad Hoovies. Not only does each class have unique abilities and weapons, they also have different levels of health, essentially turning the whole game into a sub-game of rock, paper, scissors, or in this game, cloak, sonar, hammer. That's the gist of the game. How you play it is entirely dependent on your play styles and how well it works with your comrades. And as you can imagine, this being set in the future of 2100 in the VR space, there's a lot more deeper meaning to this entire contest. So it makes the question, like, are we entering a contest? Are there good contestants, bad contestants that are trying to ruin stuff? It leads you more into speculations the more you dig into it. But obviously, this is not a lore video. This is just a an essay on the finals. So more into the gameplay. So obviously, I'm hyping this game up quite a lot and saying that it's really, really fun, which it is. There's no caveat there. It is a really, really fun game. I love it. But it's not perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect game. As you can imagine, with the amount of destruction on the map and stuff like that, it can lead to crashes. Predominantly, an example that I have is whenever I play the heavy class and I'm using the goo gun, the entirety of the game decides, no, it can't calculate it, so it throws a kernel warning and then just boots you back to desktop, which is great. But ultimately, it is something that's going to gradually get optimized and over time should hopefully get better. With that in mind as well, as you can imagine, any online multiplayer that's in PvP setting is always going to have cheaters plaguing the thing, and the report system's not great because sometimes you just need to just get them out quick, and when you're trying to do that you hit pause, then you have to go into social menu or press the P key, and then you have to select the person and then the reason and send a nice letter to developers, and then it gets put into a big backlog, and it's just like, really. The other thing as well, I've not really seen much speak about this. There's been like a few grumbles here and there, but I'm surprised there hasn't been a kill cam system integrated into the game. It would make sense based upon the fact that if you get killed, you've got the opportunity to see how you died. So obviously with that you get the ability to see what's just happened. So if you feel like it's an unfair elimination, you've got basically visual evidence that you can do. Obviously with that, I think it wouldn't be too distracting if you put it as like a small like on-screen thing, kind of like a elimination replay that's kind of like themed to the whole VR space. So you just see it in like the top right hand corner, for example, just sees how it goes, and just I'm spitballing here. But the other thing as well is the anti-cheat. Of course, it's easy anti-cheat. Many people just think, oh great, it's easy anti-cheat. It's kind of got that reputation of not being very good. With that in mind, obviously, it's something that the developers have to think about, and they can regularly update stuff all the time. More on that later. But with everything else in there, obviously, it's a new game. It's just going to take a lot of time to feed the anti-cheat, because everything relies on data. But I'm no expert when it comes to anti-cheat, but I've seen some pretty nutty things, like you've got ammo and of course the usual suspects, aimbot, walls, etc. But this game gives you walls. But of course, I can only say what I see online. It doesn't, it's not great from what I've seen on the online posts, but I haven't really come across anything too suspicious. And if I have, I've usually done the usual thing: just put the report out, don't think about it, finish the game. And that's how I've been sort of living it, really. But obviously, there's always going to be the ongoing war between developers and cheat developers, and I don't really come across many cheaters. I'm having a good time. I just crack on, Well, most of the time anyway. It can be difficult as well with the game being quite limited on the ping system. I found that kind of a bit odd. The fact that obviously, for example, being Apex having a really well-defined one, and then Fortnite kind of caught up with that. You'd think that we'd all be kind of universally using a fairly similar ping system, but I find that the one in the finals just needs just a little tweak, just a little tweak, like a dedicated button to indicate danger, or spot an enemy or something like that. And the other thing as well, the VoIP, not many people hop in. I find that there's a lot of mute gamers out there, and I get it. You just want to play a game. You don't want to have like a live conversation with a total stranger. You're not there to socialize. You're there to just goof off, unwind and stuff. But when it comes to in-game comms, there should be the option to be able to play the game as if you were, completely mute. You had no way of using a microphone. And this, leads perfectly into what I think is a good amount of time to, talk about some tweaks that I have in mind. The first one I would talk about is obviously the request revive option, which is a fantastic thing. It's a standard ping to, like, hey, you can pick me up, you can do that, you can do that. But the problem is, when you get eliminated, but your other colleagues or teammates, or whatever you want to refer to them as, are still alive, you only see things from their perspective, which is fine. It is, you can kind of communicate with that if you're in a 3-stack with, friends in a Discord. But if you're solo queuing and they're not in the game chat and you've got no other way of doing it, you have to hope and pray that their cognitive, deception can actually see what's around them. And 9 out of 10 times, revives they will go into fire to pick you up for some strange reason. And it's like, I wish there was a way I could tell you, don't do it, it's danger. So I think there should be an option that says request revive and warn teammates. So it doesn't have to be near the same button. I would probably have it like, for example, the request revive button for me is Q. I would have the warn teammates as E. So that way if you've been eliminated, and you can still kind of see from their perspective that there's danger nearby, and it's a risky move. If you've got a bit of an understanding how the game works, I think it would work beautifully just to have something that would be like, hey, don't touch me, it's dangerous. But moving on, another thing as well is the the counter to the light sawn off cheese. I find it so strange that people are relying on that as like a strong light meta, and I feel that they need to have a little bit of a rein back a little bit, because I know the light class is very spongy, but it can be so frustrating. You just don't hear the cloaky sound sometimes, and then all of a sudden you're dead, and then all the cloaky sounds catch up and stuff. So whether they need to look into the audio engine a little bit, or you know, maybe make it a little bit less effectively good, I suppose. But again, spitballing. I ain't no developer. I ain't into this, you know, gaming making stuff. I just like to play the video games and have fun. On the flip side as well, obviously with the heavy class, or the Hoovy as I'm going to refer to them now, the shield meta is just way too much. Like the bubble shields that you can deploy if you're running triple heavy with barricades, the actual arm shield and the bubble shield, and just you put all of the shields and stuff down, you really are fortifying it. And then obviously if you add a person, you know, with some goo grenades, or you know, you have one dedicated heavy with a goo grenade, nobody's getting in. It's like, no, this is our cash box, you can't have it. So to help with that kind of thing, the glitch grenade should be more like an impact rather than a timed fuse, because 9 out of 10 times when you throw the glitch grenade, you know, some people just seem to think, oh, throw it at a bubble, it will get rid of it, and then it bounces off somewhere and it just doesn't get rid of the shield. So I think there should be something like that to just make it detonate on impact. But that's just me again, spitballing. Moving on. The medium build. With that in mind, I would obviously look into the two primary weapons that they have that are rifles. So you've got the AK-47, or is it it's the AKM. Correction, AKM. And then you've got the FCAR, which we all know is secretly the SCAR L, but we're not going to do that. Anyway, I would probably tweak the AK to have less ammo in it. So instead of having 36 rounds, take 5 out, so it goes down to 31. Give it a slight buff to compensate, but have really, really strong recoil. So it makes it really difficult to, you know, spray and get multi kills with it. And then with the FCAR, or again the SCAR, have a little bit more ammo in it. So put a little bit more of a bigger mag. And then obviously just have a little bit more sideways sway, because it's a little bit too easy to beam with it. So that would be something I would do. But again, spitballing. And then Hoovy, he should get an M60 tweak to the recoil pattern, because it's a little bit bouncy. And also, why no prone? Feels strange to have a shoot game without prone. I mean, it would make sense so you can crawl amongst the building rubble without, you know, trying to squeeze through. Like, if you get stuck, you're done. There's nothing you can do. So, quite strange they haven't had prone, especially being from Battlefield. Of course, I think it would be something that should be play tested, so they should run like a test build that, you know, can be open to people. But as you noticed, that there's been very little to suggest in terms of balance or improvements, really. As you know, they've taken notes from the open beta they had and they ran with it, and they've done brilliantly. But of course, the main complaints that happened to be, you know, front and center is obviously everybody complaining about the nuke and the zipline bugs. But you know, they'll tweak it, they'll stop the madness. Meta broken? Nah, I don't think so. Hi, this is Future Jakey Noob. I'm fully aware that some of the patches have came out, and obviously since the time of the writing of this video, they've reduced the effectiveness of nukes, which I'm really glad about, and obviously squashed the silly bugs for the zipline. So, you know, it's good that they're actually actively doing stuff, and they've obviously tweaked a few things since then, since the, you know, this video was recorded. But with that in mind, you know, movement players will try and break something else. They'll find something new. They always do. But anyway, the state of the game has been pretty good since. I just want to obviously add this little note in from the future, because, you know, it's important. And, you know, they've even added an experimental solo mode, so they are actively working on the game, and they love this game, I can tell, because they put a lot of heart and effort into it. But anyway, enough from me from the future. Goodbye! Another key thing that's linked with the game is the fact that the commentators are partially AI voiced. So what I mean by partially is that they are AI voices, but it has been trained by professional voice actors. So what does that mean? So they've basically taken vocal recordings and samples, and obviously generated a vocal voice with it, and then they've trained the AI to recognize prompts, so that, you know, they type it in and it pushes out a lot more vocal lines very quickly in comparison to obviously getting the right take with the voice. So voice actors, you know, people are worried about the voice actor role in itself, but you know, I don't know if I don't know if it's factually true. Obviously, please take anything that's taken on, out on the internet as, not always gospel, and take a grain of salt with that. But, I can see the positives and I can see the negatives. So we'll start with the positives. It really does reduce the amount of development time required, because you don't have to wait for the voice actor lines to be good, and then you have to pump them into the game and stuff like that. And I think they're great for placeholders, or something else, just a way of just making sure that that part of the engine or the game is working. What I'm not so keen on is the fact that it doesn't really make it human, because they all just sound very generic and samey, because they always start with the incantation, so you're not going to get like a different variety of flavors. So you're not going to hear because, for example, when you hear Scotty say the team gets wiped out, it's always the same kind of monotone style that he does. It does sound excitable, but it's not like it's reactive to what happens. There's no differentiation to how the players got eliminated. So I don't know if there's a way they can add in a bit more excitement and stuff like that. So say a whole team gets wiped out by a single person, and be like, "Did you just see that?" That kind of thing, But it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's fair to limit a voice actor to just be, a robot. But I can also see where it makes sense, because of it being in a VR space. It kind of doesn't really seem out of place because of it being in, again, the VR world. So it's all down to artistic interpretation and requirements and stuff like that. So I totally get it from their point of view, but from a personal point of view, dirty placeholder, and then obviously get things to push more, humane sounds. But I ain't no developer. This isn't my game, but I would ultimately feel more invested if it felt more natural, rather than just reading the same prompt over and over again. So just a little bit more variation. The other thing as well, they could, future monetize the game with, different AI announcers, so they could actually get a whole bunch of different, VAs or, characters or celebrities, and just get them all kind of into this whole idea of being a guest announcer. So you can switch out, you can take Scotty out and have I don't know, Snoop Dogg or something like that. just some kind of caveat to go, oh, I would love to buy that pack. That'd be hilarious, hearing Snoop Dogg going, for real, he just got illuminated, some stuff like that. It would be nuts. The other thing as well, I also feel that there should be a cosmetics competition. So you get artists creating virtual sponsors that are, not so much branded to a specific thing, but they have a theme. So hey, we're looking for an artistic interpretation of a, digital turtle, for example. What would you do with a digital turtle? And then, get a bunch of creative people to just come up with a whole bunch of designs, and people in the community can vote to then have a community pack that you can unlock, and then a small percentage goes to the artist, the rest goes towards the game. So that would be an interesting way of monetizing the game. Could be a thing, make it fictional, but obviously community driven. But yeah, just spitballing more ideas. Whether they would be taken on board or not, I don't know, but you don't know until you get it out there. Anyway, to conclude my thoughts for this video, The Finals is one of the most exciting games to release near the end of 2023. It's a nice refresher for the shooter genre, and there has been a lot of stale air within battle royales and other shooters and stuff. It's just nice to have, kind of that honeymoon feeling with the game again, and then, kind of has a little bit of retention, but will it last? Will the hype last? I don't know. I'm going to be playing it like crazy. I'm still playing it as we speak. I'm probably playing it right now. And of course, with that in mind, once you've reached the peak, once you've triumphed in the final, what's next? Anyway, thank you so much for your time and sticking through to the end of this video. I really do love the fact that somebody's chosen to spend time watching, this new kind of content, and if you like it, obviously do let me know with a simple thumbs up. It takes a second, and it's completely free. And if you didn't like it, obviously do let me know in the comments what you think I could improve on, what I could do for feedback changes, and if you got anything that needs correcting, just tell me. I ain't gonna be that guy. It's gonna be like, no, delete comment. But of course, if you enjoyed it, there will be future content to come out, and it'll be similar to this kind of styling, video essay format, whatever you want to call it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on it, and of course, have a wonderful day.